my name is Jo from Craft Like Crazy, and this evening I'm going to do a short walkthrough and a tutorial for a scrapbook style kids activity pad that I made for my nieces and nephews. So this is the finished article. I'll move all the pieces out of the way. So we'll start, opens up and then opens up again, and here we've got a little pocket where we can put, I bought some stickers for them, and here I've got a little packet that opens up that holds the pens, and it also holds a dry wipe marker, and this can be reused again and again because I've got these little notebooks from Amazon, and it's on an elastic so you can do it, but on here it's a dry wipe board that we can then wipe off so they can play in the car if they don't get too car sick, and you can replace the paper. Now the sizings for this is obviously based on the books and the pens that I was able to buy. These papers are the Alice in Wonderland from Echo Park. They're quite cute, but you don't really use that much. So the sizings of my activity pad are based on the book measurements. So I bought these from Amazon, and they are 8.5 inches by 5 inches for the book. And then the pens are just from Home Bargain. I love Home Bargain. So these are the Crayola pens, the Super Wipe ones, and they measure 6 2/8 by 5 3/16, and I've added a little extra in my measurements for that dry wipe marker. So to start off with, we'll get the chipboard. So we have the chipboard measurements. So I use the grey board, which again I just get from Amazon. I think it's about 3 mil thick, and I cut it using an old cutter that's got a dull blade really, and that's fine. I do a couple of passes on the front and then turn it over and do the back. So the cover, you need 2 pieces that are 9 by 6 for the front and the back, and then the spine you will need 1 piece that's 9 by 1 1/4, which I have here. And then to cover that, I leave those up there, you should be able to see it. I have some cardstock that, again, Amazon. It's in a navy blue, and I have 2 pieces of 11 by 8 to cover the front and back piece, and then I have a smaller piece which is 11 by 4 1/4, and that's to cover the spine. So to start off with, I'll leave those up there. We want everything to lie flat, so I cover them individually, and all I do is I put some double-sided sticky tape on the back, and I do use glue. I use Kalal glue, which I've just got in a different bottle, because when you use that, the score tape grabs it instantly so it doesn't move about, and the collal glue, when it dries like cement, so it gives it some structure as well. So I'll just show you how I cover the back. So what I do is I have some spacers, so I like an inch around each side. So these are just leftover pieces of chipboard, and then this is my 11 by 8, and I just make sure that goes up into the corner. I'll put my spacers on it like that, and then this is going to then stick there. So all I do is I take the sticky tape off. Usually when I'm working, I have a bin next to me, but I've not done that today, so I'll just pop it on the side there. So I'm recording this quite late at night because it's been the bank holiday and I live on the seaside, and there was lots of people enjoying themselves and had lots of music on quite late. So I won't get this all finished today, but I can start and edit out any gaps. So I just put I'll hold that there, butt it straight up, and we can do that. And I can take my spacers away, turn it over, and then squidge that glue around. And put that over to the side to dry. And again, we'll do the same for the next piece. Put my spacers up there. Now, I didn't come up with the design on how to back these. I always say YouTube is my superpower. I watch videos and I give things a go. So I'm not an expert, but it just inspires you, and then you can use these techniques to do anything that you fancy, really. So I'd seen one lady who made something similar with a whiteboard, piece of whiteboard, for a shopping and recipe booklet, and I thought, oh, that'd be really good to keep the kids entertained whilst in the car. So I adapted it for what I had available, obviously in Home Bargain, because it's my favourite space. Obviously I'm not great at doing videos, so, but it's a learning curve for everybody, but hopefully you'll be able to see enough of what I'm doing to be able to give things a go yourself, which I think what the community of YouTube is for, inspiring us to try something new. Now with the spine, this is what we use to join the two pieces together, so we make some flaps really. So we have a little bit more space on the side. So I'll just put that there. And that's going to go there like that. But there's a lady called Tamra on YouTube, and she came up with this design for the lay flat scrapbook album covers. I think she was designing it for people who had problems covering large areas of paper. They used to join them up and do it, and it is quite hard, and if your hands are a bit stiff, it can be quite difficult and wieldy to manage that size. But I also find that I'm in the UK and we use a lot of A4 paper, and this way you don't need such large pieces of paper either. So just put that there. Get rid of that. So I'll just show you how to cover these now. So I'll just move that out the way for now. Don't need that right now. So what we will do is make sure I've got everything to hand. Knocking me glue over. Oh, that's gone a bit squidgy. That'll glue shut if I don't cover it. So what we're going to do is, with this piece, we're going to fashion some wings. So if we turn it over this way, I'm just going to find the edge of our chipboard, and we're just going to run our bone folder up there and try and mould it and train it to go to the side of our piece of card. I don't know if you can see that. So these Teflon bone folders as well, they're absolutely fabulous. They don't make your paper shine, and they're quite soft as well, so you don't rip them as much. And again, we're going to find the top there and the top there, and then to finish it off, we're going to, now with this, I like to sort of find the edge again, make sure that paper is, and then sort of go over like that. Make sure I can find that paper, hold it down in place. It might fan it out a little bit, but this is what we want. We want the paper to mould to the front, to our, because this is what we're going to glue it to. So do that. And then before I do that, actually, I want it to stick quite quickly whilst I'm doing that. So what I'll do is, I like to a little bit of score tape there, so that although we're using glue, this will just stick it quickly and give me a chance to fold it tight over and help the glue to stick. So just do that and take that off. Take that off. And all where we want the glue to stick, and just run a bead of glue along there, a little bit there, a little bit there, and then along here. And then all I'm going to do is bring that up, put it against there and pull it over. That's going to grab instantly, and then it's going to give me a chance just to hold that in place and glue that down. If you you do have any glue squidge out, which I don't appear to have, then you can always wipe it. So again, little bead of glue there, along there, there. So this is the Art Glitter Glue. It's really good. It is quite fast drying though, so if you want a little bit of wiggle room, then the Collal glue will give you that, but then obviously you have to hold it while it's drying, whereas this is pretty instant. So we're just going to leave that to actually dry for a little bit, and then we'll come back to our, what I'm going to do is I want everything to stick, so I'm put me tape around. Don't think it matters if you go top to bottom or I just get round in a circle or a square. I go through tons of this tape, and again, Amazon's my best friend since the lockdown. I think I suffer with some sort of addiction, and to be honest, I think if I didn't order, that Amazon would actually come out and put out a search party for me. Part of AA, Amazon Anonymous. So we're just folding our card around there, so we're wrapping so we've got that there, and I don't know if you can see this, but then we have 4 little corners here, so we're going to cut those corners out. Now if you stay to this side of the cut line, then it'll just give us that little bit of space to cover our corner, because we don't want any corners exposed. So that's 1. 2, 3. There we go. What we want to do as well is we want to miter these corners. So I just pull it over, put my scissors up to the side, and then I do that. And then again, put it up to the side. Just leave a little space, but that's good because we're going to use that. I'll do that one. Put it up to the side. Put it up to the side. And then pull that over. There we go. All bits to the side. So this is what we're going to call it, cover over now, and then we'll get a really, really nice corner. So what I like to do is take off all the score tape. And then I just get, I don't need to put my pin through this again. No, we're all right. She says, go up there. going to put that right up against there, then pull that over nice and tight into that. The score tape will get it straight away, and then we can burnish that. Nice little, turn it round. And keep the pin handy. And I don't know if you can see this, but there's little ears there, and we do want those because we can then just push them in like that. You can use your finger as well, but I like to use the corner of me. And then go down here. Pull it right over. That's what we want. We want it nice and tight and secure. Give it a good burnish there. And then if you look at that corner, it's perfect. Nice and neat. Pull it in the middle and pull your sides up. It'll stick to that score tape straight away, that double-sided tape. And because we've pushed those corners in, it's lovely and neat. So that's one piece covered. And then I'll do the same again for this one. I'll most probably speed this up if I know how to use the video editor properly. So there's those two. And if we bring our spine back. Just what to do is I like to mitre these just a little bit, but not right up to that corner. So just a little bit higher, just kind of, and then we just mitre it ever so slightly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to lie these flat on either side like that and adhere them, and then that will be our thing. But what if we want it to sort of grab straight away, but when we do it, we don't want to glue it right up to that edge, because then that will tear the paper. So we want to be about 1/8 of an inch away. That's what I tend to do. Put my score tape out of 1/8 of an inch away from that top gusset, and then I know that's, I'm not going to glue past that. And also this will grab hold of it, that will give me the opportunity to sort of make sure that it's nice and adhered without it squidging all over the place and sliding. Now, if you think you're not going to align these up absolutely perfect, obviously the Collal glue gives you a bit more wiggle time, and the art glitter glue actually is quite fast acting. What you can do is do a little cheat really. I'll just bring my scoreboard back over and just actually line it up with the lip there. And what you can do is you can line up your straight edge here with that there, not on the angle but on that, and then when you come along you can do that, and then at least you know that that's nice and centered. So what we're going to do is I just take one off at a time. I'm going to take that one. I'm actually going to use my art glitter glue. And I'm just going to come down here. Make sure I've got plenty of glue, because this is what holds your pages. So I like to think that, so sort of get it all nice and lined up with the bottom, and then do that. Turn over, and this adheres onto that. Make sure that's nice and stuck down. I'm going to turn it this way. I can lift it up a bit. Take our score tape off. Get my glue. So like I said, this was designed by a nice lady called Tamra. The lay flat method of making these album covers. But then you can use these covers for anything. So I've made some mini albums. I'm going to make, I've got a relative who's having a new baby, so I'm going to do a baby mini album to cover for the first year. But you look there, it's nice and settled. But now all we need to do is the final bit is to cover. And I think my daughter's going to come in while I'm filming, so I will stop filming now and I will come back in the morning. Right, so we're back. So the final thing that I've got left to do is to cover this area here. As you can see, this little piece is 8 7/8, so it just covers there. And I tend to make sure that it's just wide enough to cover there. So this is actually just a scrap. Now, also, what I like to do is to make sure that it sticks to here fully. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to get some more of the double-sided sticky tape, and I want to make sure that it sticks to the spine. And then to the backing there as well. So again, just giving it a little bit of space. And what I like to do is run my foam folder over it. Make sure that it's nice and adhered down. If you ever use the red tape, you can actually see with that because it goes clear. Move our backing. So if you've stuck it down really well, it's quite easier to remove the sticky back. I'm going to get some glue. I like to use the wet glue for this. Gives you a little bit of wiggle room, but it also helps the card actually adhere and mould to where you want to go. Some people say that you get bubbling and warping, but this is a solvent based glue, so it shouldn't warp your paper that much. You can use quite a lot. And what I like to do is sort of make sure that it's even on both sides, up and down, and then just if you see that there's a little bit of sticky back double-sided tape, you can just poke that in with a pokey tool. Make sure it's nice and stuck down. You can also squish it with a more wider tool. Now, what we want to do while the glue is still got the moisture in there, if we just run our finger, we can see where that crease is. And we can do that. Turn it around. Have a little look, feel with our finger. There it is. Keep bending it, folding it, make sure it's all nicely done and stuck down, and then just fold over. Make sure that's nice and neat. And we can do that the same on the other side. And like I said, these Teflon bone folders are quite nice, and so there you go. That's our folder. So that's that bit done. So now we're just going to do the flap, which is going to join onto here and go over. But before we do that, I've got it all ready for us here. So this is my inside flap that I've made. So if I take that off, now you can have the measurements of the inside flap, and I'll put them there for you again so you can see. So this piece measures 9 by 6 7/8, and then I've scored along this side. I've scored at 1/2 and 1 1/8. So that's your 6 7/8 side. But because this is going to be used by the children a lot, I have actually reinforced the inside. So just along where the score lines are, I've actually just put clear packing tape with the hope that that'll give it a little bit more stability on there. So all I'm going to do before I cover the rest of my inside is I'm going to stick that on there. So I'm going to use my quick grab glue for this. If any glue does sort of pop out, you can always just wipe it away, but this glue does dry clear. So now that I've got that on, that's going to be my flap there. I can now cover the insides. So this is the cover, my inside. So I've got 2 pieces that are 8 7/8 and 5 7/8, and then I've also got a piece that is 8 7/8 by 1 1/8, which is going to go in the middle there. I'm going to turn that over. And I think I'm going to have it that way. So, and all we're going to do is we can stick this over. If you think that it's not going to stick on your sticky back plastic, you can actually just put a little bit of tape, but the rest of the glue is going to stick. So I'm not really that concerned about that. So these are some ombre papers that I got from the works. That I think their card is really good. It's really cheap, but it's rather just patterned rather than themed. So we want to make sure there's any glue there, we can squidge it around and that should be okay. I'm going to do the same on the other side. And if you ever go wrong about which to mat first, you know, most things can be covered up anyway with a nice little bit of decorative washi tape or something like that. Don't ever throw a project away because you've put time and effort into it. Now the way that I get the little book to stay here is I actually put elastic through there, and it is quite difficult to get the elastic through, so this is what I use. It's a single hole punch, and I'll show you what I do now. So I'm just going to measure a 1/4 of an inch in. On the top and the bottom. These T-square rulers are really good actually, because if your measurement's a little bit off, if you hold it flat, you can draw a little line. And what I'm going to do is roughly sort of decide, centre that as much as I want. That's where I'm going to go through, and you're going to take quite a few sort of punches at this really. To go through. It's not going to go through the whole way. But what we can do is it's going to go through some of the way, and then I just get a pokey tool, and in the middle of that I can fill that through the other side. Don't go too mad and like chop your finger. And then I turn it over and I can see where they are, and then I can go the other way. And you can just poke your pokey tool through now, and it'll just go through, no bothers. And then when we come to put the cover on the other side, then that'll be better. Just realised I've gone out of shot over the bottom, but you'll be able to see. So the idea is that we're going to have the flap here. So we've got matting for our flap. So on this piece here, we can have that there, and that piece is 8 7/8 by 5 5/8. And then on the other side, because we're going to have the pocket on this side, then the matting doesn't need to go so far. So what I did was, this is actually a scrap, so it's 5 5/8 across, and then it measures five and 5/8. But it's dependent on how big your pocket is. So I've got my pocket here, so it only has to go underneath that bit of the pocket. So we're going to stick our pocket on next. I should put the dimensions of the pocket there. So this pocket measures 6 3/4 across by 4 inches, and then on 3 sides we've just done 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. And then just gonna fold these. Some people like to do this as they go along, as they cut and that, but I like to do it as I use them. And then what we're going to do is, with this for our pocket, all we want to do is we can just cut directly through that corner and directly through that corner, and then when we fold them over it'll have a little mited edge, and it'll take that bulk out when we are gluing it down. So if I just move that into shot. So my Wi-Fi is terrible up here. We do have a BT home hub that says we give you the best ever, but because I'm stuck in an attic like Cinderella, so I prefer to hug it to the outside corner so that there's a little space. I always cut it, I know I say 6 3/4, but it's 6 3/4 minus like a little hair, and that's why when I score I tend to score 1/2 inch, turn, 1/2 inch and then turn, and that way when it folds over it doesn't impede over there. So that's all nicely stuck down, and the really good thing about the art glitter glue is it grabs instantly, so that's a plus point, but it also can be a minus point if you need a little bit of time to reposition. So I think I'm going to, I'll go that way. So I'm going to put this on here. Don't be afraid to move your piece of work around either. If it's not in the right position for you to do whatever you want to do, you're gluing, move it around so that it's in an orientation that you can manage. It's hard when you're filming, trying to make sure that you're in shot. To go towards the top way, yeah. So onto the cover of the pocket, so that can go there and that can go that way, I think. Yeah, so this will just tuck inside the pocket and you can glue it down. So you can either glue it down, just lift up the edge now and glue underneath by holding it in place, if you think you're going to make a mess, or it's just as easy to and like I say, when you use this Collal glue, it's like construction concrete. So gives you a little bit of time to wiggle it around. So use a little tissue just to, and then to make sure it all swidges on the inside. And then this one, I think I'm going to put that way. Like I said, I put little stickers inside there. So we'll move on to the next bit, which will be in this area. It's going to be where we house the pens, but they're not going to stay in this box. I'm just going to rub that pencil line out as well, because I don't need it now before I start anything else. I'll make sure that's all out of the way. So that's all finished with. So now we have the pen pocket, which is 7 5/8 by 6. Wherever I place a magnet, I do put mag, so that just so that I know where I'm going to put them. And then this is the flap, because you mat after you've put your magnets on. So that's the pen pocket flap. So if I just score these lines, so on the 3, 1 long side, 2 short sides, I've scored at 1/2 inch and 1 inch. So 1/2 inch and 1 inch. What we're going to do is, if you have a close look, we're going to get rid of these corners, and then this becomes a flap. So I'm going to cut all the way up there, and cut there and there. I'm going to miter the edge a little bit. So we can take a slither off there, and that way we can still get a nice neat line, and we'll glue that together. So again, I'm going to do the same. So cut right up there, cut right up there. I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to cut that off. Going to miter that little edge in there. And also, fold that there. I'm going to miter just ever so slightly, take a little bit off that. And then we can make our pen pocket. So all I'm going to do nice and at a right angle. If you struggle with your right angles, you can put your card, this is just a stamping block that I use, and it does help. And again, just a little squidge of glue. Doesn't have to be a lot, because this is just going to hold it into place. And we can make sure that it's a nice right angle. Just hold it for a second. And that'll sit there. So should have mated this corner as well. So if it just shows over a little bit, all we can do is we can just take a little bit of an edge off. Like that. And then it's not going to be seen when we glue it down. While I think on, I'll go and get my magnets and show you how I do my magnets. Ooh. So I just use glue dots to attach them, and then these magnets I get off Amazon and they are 1 centimetre. So the rare air magnets, but all I do is I just get I'll stick a magnet. Normally a finger width in, so stick one there. Because if you have a finger width either side, it just helps the matting stick, but you can get around that as well. And there are those magnets. And then all I would do is, when I'm ready, I won't mat that straight off, but I can do that. So we can safely mat this now. Before we put it on, it's easier to stick it down. So if I take those two magnets off. So I just have to find my matting for it. So this is the pen pocket, and it actually measures 5 5/8 by 4, and I've scored a 1/2 and a 1. Again, because it's going to be moving up and down, I've put the packing tape underneath. Don't think that was in shot. So actually burnish that really well. I've used a corner rounder just to round off the corners for this, and then we also have the matting for the pocket. So there's 2 pieces of this. So it goes on either side, and that's matting for the other side. So I quite like the pink, so that's most probably going to go there. We'll have that, and then we'll have this on the inside. But before I start, not very organised today. So this was the corner chomper I was talking about. You usually do it on a 7 for most things, so your memory serves me right. But when you're doing it on this, just work out what colours you want. Quite like that pink better. So we'll have that one there. And we will chomp this corner and that corner. And then that will go there. Then on the other side, if we're going to have the purple, we shall chomp. I think I want it that way. So chomp that one. Chomp that one. Ooh. And if it does a funny chomp like that, just turn it around the other way and chomp it. It goes that way. So again, wherever there's magnets, don't mat until you put your, well, we can mat that first because that hasn't got any magnets. So if you're a messy worker like me, I think it's Russian roulette matting over your piece of work. I'll move that out of the way. So that's going to go like that. And then the magnet's going to stick on there. So if we just, again, one piece, 5.5 by 4 7/8, and then that will cover that with your little 1/8 of an inch covering. Most of this will have been out of shot because I've not seen on the monitor screen. So, gives me a little bit of wiggle room. Make sure I'm happy with that. Turn it round, give it a good squidge down, especially around the magnets. And then if we bring this back this way, should be able to get our little magnets that I've hidden here, and they'll do the positive and the minus where they're supposed to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this down first. So I'll just put a little squidge in the corner, make sure that's nice and, again, right angled. Again, if you're worried about your corners, you can always put your corner thing in so that you know, get nice angles. Look where that's going to go. I think I've had too much coffee today. A bit shaky. And to make sure your sides are nice and straight, put something against it. Make sure, so that's, you want it nice and straight so your pens can fit in. What I normally do is I put the pens in before I put the lid on. So we got a couple of pens out, and then it helps. You put your pens in, you know where to sort of slide your top on. Over. So, got a nice little spread. Spread them under. Make sure that's all nicely lined up. Nice on the sides. Hold it for a couple of seconds. Give it a little second to adhere. We can take our pens off. That's nice. And then all I do is slide the magnet off, flip it over so the top is there. It's got the glue dot on, and it'll just sit like that. But just remember to flip your magnet. So take it over, there's the top, sticky to the top. Then all we do is we line it up how we want. They come off. Oh, nice. Like that. And that's your flap closed, yeah? Lastly, we'll stick and there's me. I wanted to do the purple, but this is, it's fine. We're just going to have stars. And like I say, don't ever just chuck your project away because it's not quite how you imagined it, or it didn't go on exactly how you want. So that's that. So all your pens will fit in there. So just like that. And just to go through, there's all your measurements for that. So I will close like that. And if we go on to this next bit, so this is the dry wipe. So that's my dry wipe there. All I've done with this is Cricut dry wipe vinyl, and all I did was put it on a scrapbook card. You see it's a bit mucky, it's got some print on that, but you're not going to see. And then I've just cut it to 8.5 by 5.5. And then because I've just put cards on this, the glue will adhere it. Here we go. So that will close like that. And take the pens out because they'll rattle about. So now we shall do the matting. The outside covers. So the matting for my outside covers, I've got two that are 8 7/8 by 5 7/8, and they are going to go here. And then I've got one that is 8 7/8 by a half, and then this is a little strip. This is, sorry, that's 8 7/8 and 1/8, and this is the half. And that's just going to go there. So we can get these all nicely stuck on. I did it again. So the mistake I've made is I've adhered my pocket to this side before I put this little bit of matting on the other side, because I wanted to be able to punch through that. But what I will do, first off, I'll stick it on and then flip it over and put the markers in. I'll move this back into shot. Really, I can't really press that hard because I don't want to. What I can do is find my little pokey tool, go through, and I can see where those are. There we go. Yep, that's gone all the way through, so that's good. We'll quickly put this one on. Purple on the top. Ooh. Yeah, definitely. book is going to go there. Our pens, and then that goes over there, and that's our completed little activity folder. It's really good if the kids are in the car, as long as you don't get car sick, in restaurants when you're waiting for your food and stuff like that. So that's really good. I'm going to get some of the elastic. To do the elastic, all I did make sure I've got enough space for the pokey hole. Let's pull some of this through. I don't need that much at the end. Just tie your elastic. You want it quite snug. You want to be able to change it, so that's okay. Tighten a little granny knot. And all I did was trimmed it. Now it's up to you if you have the knot at the top or the bottom. It doesn't make any difference, but you can have your book over like that, so they've got somewhere. This can then be changed as many times as they like. And it folds over. And there's your little